Well, I think my music making progress really varies on what I'm trying to make, depending on whether or not I'm producing music. Usually there's like a melody that I really enjoy, and then I play that on the keyboard. And then I really like where I struggle the most, I think, is drums. So that usually takes me the longest, and it's usually either on an SP404 or Logic. I use Logic, which is probably really unpopular here. I wish I started with Ableton, because sometimes I really like the quality of sound that you get with Ableton a lot more, but I just started.
Stop.
Yeah, I started with Logic, so that's where I'm at. I just can't use anything else except for Logic. Yeah.
No, you think okay, Justin, you could say too, and then ask you this.
Yeah,
thing.
I started making beats at just being high at a friend's house who had SB12. What did he have? He had the SB1200, and so I was just like, show me this thing. He had all this equipment, and he didn't know how to use anything. So he would just be playing video games, and like he would be talking to girls on the phone, like pretending he's making beats, and I would just be sitting there learning his fucking machines for him. And I just wanted, I don't know, I just was just curious. Like I'm still curious. Like I don't really know. I know what I'm sort of doing, but I don't really.
Yeah,
I'm really limited with my equipment. I use 3 machines. So I sample all the time. Like I like sampling. And I run that through the SB303 for the effects, because I like things to be a little dirty.
Okay.
And then I run that through there into the MPC 1000, which is too clean for me. So that's why I run it all the effects through
so that's why you pass
to
through
the
the
303.
Okay.
And it's just the same way I kind of produce in this, like, I don't know, because I sample, so I have a folder of shit that I've been accumulating, and I sometimes even go back to the same sample. Because, every couple months you learn more, and you're like, oh shit, I should have done this. And so hopefully you're progressing, you know.
Yes.
So I just kind of just go back to samples over and over until I feel like, oh, this is cool.
This is
It's cool. Like, I don't think I'm like killing it or anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, my idols or who I'm really influenced by is Madlib and, Dabri and, of course, Dilla. And a lot of, like, underground Los Angeles hip-hop. The Nonce and Freestyle Fellowship. And, yeah, so that's pretty much...
You think it's what's happening with sampling? What's your approach about sampling? You clear the samples. You have this approach. Okay.
Well,
I like.
Well, because I had to release I've been putting out beat tapes on Bandcamp or whatever. But that doesn't, like, it's like the Wild West right now. You can just kind of do whatever.
Okay.
But I had to turn in an actual album with a label, and so I had to clear samples and...
No, I think it would be like a way different from your whole stance in the way you stand.
I mean, my music would be soulless without samples. That's where I mean, I'll admit it. Like, that's where you hear something and you're like, I just want to build... off of this tastefully, But recently I've been messing with this machine called the Torres. I don't know if anyone... It's a Pioneer Torres.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be used for like a live, like DJ tool. I don't see how... I mean, I don't use it for that. I just use it... It has a built-in MPC and like a step sequencer, which I don't use. I just use the loop. It's like a loop-based machine, which is perfect for me because I'm just really... I just like simple. I make beats. It's like 20 minutes. Is like everything I've ever released has been like a 20-minute sort of the beginning. Bits,
to get the base.
And then if I send something to an MC or singer and they send something back, then we like build off the loops. So I record everything for 30 seconds, and if someone uses it, then we build and try and make a song out of it.
I think that's
not so boring.
The process, the best process to do this, because you don't put the artist inside the box, so he can contribute to what you both do and have this whole new thing. That's very nice. About sampling, I always tell the guys that. It depends how you do it, and if you know how to do it and make it something new, or take what you have to take to make a different approach to what it's the original track or something. I think.
I mean, I think now. I mean, if you're just putting stuff on Bandcamp, like who cares? You know, just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you want to become some whatever, I don't know.
I'm pro sampling. I'm just saying that because the people have a bit, you know, they don't understand the essence of sampling sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they say, no, I do not sample, but they even use like house kicks from libraries. This
I mean, to me, a preset, like sample packs. To me, that's sampling. Really,
okay.
It's just really boring sampling.
Yeah.
But I mean, I use
more
presets
creative
all the time. Yeah,
the process.
It's just how you. I don't know. It's like everyone. I mean, everyone in here makes music, correct? Right. So we all have sample packs and stuff like that. It's just what you do to make it hopefully yours.
Yeah,
you know?
To become more of you.
To have your personality in there.
Yeah, I don't think it matters where you get it from as long as you manipulate it and make it your own thing. I don't think you should shame somebody for being like, well, that was the... Because people have made some fire stuff on like the most basic of like, or GarageBand like default settings, and they've just, you know, like Ross, for example, you know.
Oh yeah,
if you
Ross
think
G and I were the only two. We're on GarageBand 09 still.
You know, they still use GarageBand, these guys. So that's very nice, and to tell the guys that it doesn't matter what you use if you know your way through it and do your job and be creative on it. It doesn't matter.
But there was, I mean...
That doesn't depend on if you want to apply your what you do either in production or in artistic creation, because if you're in production, you need a canned solution.
Of course, I think like there's a big difference between producing for like something specific, like I don't know, a television ad or music or movies. But in terms of being creative, I mean, like we have no, you know, it's not.
I think that's the difference with the tools.
Yeah.
People who sell some libraries usually do it for production lines, not for artistic development.
True.
Yeah, but there's the thin line between like the one who does this, he understands what he's doing. Like maybe he thinks that's the way he will get into music just by producing this stuff, but it's not really him or her that's doing this, because that's what he has heard all over the industry and thinks that's the way to get closer and do the same stuff everybody does.
Marketing
yeah.
Does it, because if somebody wants to sell a library, he would market it as a big name library or something that is similar to what you want to get to.
Okay.
Get this like every new genre of music usually comes after a year with huge libraries of sounds, you know, for the mass market.
And then it gets into commercials and gets kind of ruined a little bit. I mean, there's an upside to that is artists can at least kind of, if you get one commercial, that's more than money you're going to get than 5 albums that you release or something. You know, it's
that's
a shame.
The whole,
So, you know, I know some friends that do that for a living, you know, and they're doing way better than I am financially, but they're making their music on the side, and you know, it's a skill that I don't, because I'm not a producer, you know. I mean.
Well, I think there's a difference, you know, like people say, you know, like I make music, but, you know, I think there's a difference between a lot of the technical aspects of producing that I also wouldn't say that I'm well versed in at all.
It's just playing with sound, really, you know, just, I mean, a lot of times I hear something, I'm like, this doesn't sound right for me, you know, so I slow it down or speed it up, so it feels like, oh, I feel comfortable with this, you know, tempo or whatever. But yeah, please sample more and send me those beats. I would like to hear those.
Thank you. Okay, did your musical background was something that helped you with producing music, or I mean, in the aspect that someone needs to have a musical background, or it's not that necessary, and how this can be compromised?
I mean, like, I think Justin and I are like the two opposites. I think both works.
That's why I asked.
I started playing an instrument from a really early age, and I guess that helps because I don't really sample that much at all. Like, I guess I play. I mean, I'll sample drums, but everything else I play myself for the most part. So that's where my musical background helps because I play instruments. Yeah.
I was always terrified, kind of growing up. I always thought, you had to be like Michael Jackson or something. You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh, that's music. Like, I don't do music. That's only special people from space do that or something, you know? And then once I got a sampler, or I kind of broke things down of like, oh, you just need these sort of 5 or 6 elements put together in a tasteful way, and you're like, okay, I could do this. It's just sound. So I
think that's something that is inside of everyone.
I mean, you have to love it. I mean, if you don't really love it, you know, because I would spend 12, 13 hours a day just trying to. When I first got turntables, like that's all I did. I had no social life. Like all I cared about.
Okay, there's no easy way to learn.
You have to sacrifice. I think you can't. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any question you would like to ask?
Yeah, I'd love to know what you said is very interesting. I'd love to know, the psychologist says that if you are in a state of play, you are happy. Then your mind discovers new things. So I guess that you are entering the psychology of play, the state of play, when you're creating.
Absolutely.
So I would love to know, both of you, what kind of equipment you have in front of you when you are in a state of play. When you don't mind if you have eaten, you don't mind what hour it is or anything. You're just in there, your universe.
Well, I mean, I just have I have 2 machines that I use, and I've been using that since I started making beats in 2003. So I'm like a caveman with just these couple of things that make noise, and I quite like being limited, You get to figure out, with the limitations in some of the 303, you can only have 4 pads in stereo or 8 pads in mono, so you're super limited, so you have to get used to like resampling and building more sounds, multiple sounds onto one pad, and mistakes happen, so it's not so, like, I have friends who produce, and I look at their grid, like the screen, and I'm just like, oh, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm totally freaked out by all this organized stuff, and I'm just so used to just not having a screen, and you just go off the sound. So I totally.
Yeah, I think that is the more artistic approach in difference with producing, what you were trying to say before, I think.
I also really don't have a big setup. I have like 2 very small synthesizers at the moment. But I also don't think I've ever like produced for 12 hours straight. I've never had 2 decks at home. I've never, so it's always been like those small opportunities when I would have turntables. Like, for example, at Stonesthrow in the basement, there were turntables. So for me, it was like I would make the most out of the 2 or 3 hours after work I would have and using them. And same goes for producing, really. Like, the music I've made really quickly. Like, it's been like 15 minutes. And it's sad because the inspiration doesn't strike me often. I wish there was, like, if I'll hear something, it'll be very easy for me usually to get it out, but it's not that it happens to me, like, super often. Actually, we're working on, like, a split tape together, and it's been about, like, half a year, and neither of us are, like, really, like, this is what we want to put out. So yeah, and I think that is the difference between a producer and somebody that's just making music solely for an artistic function, because a producer is in there and they're fine-tuning the sounds, and they have a very big, mostly professional setup, and they really have those hours and dedication to a technical aspect of making the music, which I personally don't have. For me, it's always been largely about the musicality, and I wish I had the 2 sides, but I don't.
Όσο μπορείς να φωνάξεις, όσο μπορείς. Και άμα θες να σηκωθείς κιόλας να σε ακούσουμε. Ναι. Να σε βλέπω.
Stand up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still working with Kutmah.
Yeah. He engineered.
He's the producer that you write on the spot, I think. It's not a bass sample producer. I think it's
He used to be. He used to make a lot, 2009, he used to make a lot of beats, sample bass.
But now it's more like he creates...
Absolutely, yeah.
How was that with you?
It was...
Because you are way different in production.
100%. He has this THX cinema sound, like it's pristine, and sound like a piece of shit. But I think the contrast of him and I was really good for the album, because he you know, if I run out of samples and shit, like I have like a tambourine or whatever, or shakers, and once I've added all that, I'm like, well, I'm done. You know, I don't really know. So a lot of the tracks, because he engineered the whole entire album. No. I mean, he engineered the album. He didn't do additional production on everything, but you know, I mean, it's credited. So if we got to a certain point, if an MC or singer, whatever the fuck, gave us the vocals, he would, you know, add. You know, I was there the whole time, and he was, you know, kind of adding what he thought I needed, like a real producer. Like, you know, he really helped me out with the record. But yeah, it was easy. We're friends, so it's cool. If I don't like something, I'll just shake my head. Like, we have a really good rapport, so it was really easy. And he didn't. I felt like, oh, like, I don't know, because when you're around a real producer and he's like picking up a guitar and picking up a bass, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm just gonna doodle on this paper while you know. I felt like really stupid, but it was, you know, like, but I laid the kind of groundwork. Yeah, pretty much. Like, once I accumulated all the tracks, like every couple of weeks, I would be like, okay, I got 5. Oops, excuse me. I got 5. I mean, the album changed overnight. Like, I turned in the album to Big Dada, and then that night I got the vocal for the Ganja Sufi track, Zero, and To Rock, and who else was it? Okay, so I got 4 vocal tracks like overnight, and I was like, oh my god, this is a way better album now. Fuck. So we worked on that the next day, and so the album changed maybe, you know, 5-6 times until I kind of felt, okay, fuck, I have a deadline. I was a year late on the deadline, so yeah, by the label. So I mean, which is fine. They didn't give a fuck. Like, they know I'm not gonna turn in this bonobo record that's gonna sell 1 million records. They know what they're getting into with me, you know. So it was. I mean, I feel really lucky that I got, because I know so many people who have really bad situations with labels, and I got lucky because the 2 A&R guys that I was dealing with just really liked me. I don't know what was going on. Like, I got really lucky, so they just let me do whatever I wanted. So I got lucky, you know.
Something I want to ask about this is like, what?
Why are you holding the mic like this? Why?
What could you say about major and indie labels, and what do you think about the artist and the relations between artists and the labels, like today in 2018, with all these things changing and getting more digital and streaming and the gatekeepers?
I don't know what the fuck streaming is. Like, I feel like it's really lazy. I mean, I understand it. There's times where I think of an album that I used to listen to, and I'm like, oh, I want to hear that, but I don't have it, and I don't want to fucking spend 10 euros on it. So I kind of get the streaming, but I don't know. It's like it doesn't exist to me in a way. I don't think about it, or what is it, a penny per play? I don't know. I'm not Mariah Carey, so it doesn't matter to me, you know. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like
a parallel world. Like
I feel like it's quite bizarre. Yeah, and it just happened as I was turning in the album. They were talking. The label was talking about streaming, and I was like, "What the fuck is streaming? Who cares? Like, this doesn't matter to me." So, and then I started freaking out because I knew the first half of my album was quite unlistenable. Like, if you don't like the kind of music, you're gonna hate it immediately, and then they're not gonna get to the second part that they might like. Yeah. So I sequenced the album kind of backwards, just for the lazy listener.
At the beginning. Sophie, you?
What was the question? It was like between major and indie labels, right?
I didn't even answer that.
The artist relations.
You were like, yeah, streaming sucks. Well, I think between major and indie labels, I think is really difficult because I think no matter what you're doing as an artist, you have to question what your label is going to do for you. And I think, you know, I have friends that have been in 3 album deals with indie labels, and it's been hard because there's clauses in there that only allow you to get out of it once you've recouped or made the label enough money back to the advance that you're getting, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily happen in this day and age where streaming, I guess, comes into play. So they've had to do 4 albums, and then they're limited in creativity and what they get to do. So it's really hard now as well in terms of the connections that I think an indie can give you. You can probably harness by yourself in terms of distribution or presence, whether that's in an online, like an Apple online store, or a Spotify playlist, like the featured playlists. And the really sad thing about all of this is it really boils down to how many views you have and how followed you are. And I think that's really kind of destroyed the landscape of music that we're in today. But, however, on the other hand, maybe 40 years ago, it was even more impossible for independent artists to get their music heard because pressing plants would only press your record if you were coming from a major label. So while I think the landscape has definitely changed, obviously, I think the upsides are potentially better than the downsides, because I think we as listeners, and this is also why I think something like Boiler Room ended up working, is because people do have an appetite for alternative and different music, and people will actively seek out smaller artists, whether that's through like Bandcamp or SoundCloud. So I think that has kind of reshifted how we consume music and how artists are able to be heard and how your music is able to get from point A to B. I think maybe making money off music is just completely impossible now, and I wouldn't really recommend it to anybody. Like making music is your only like
so you say it's not
income.
a sustainable living.
I don't think
music.
so. And I
Either
don't.
you're Madonna or something.
Yeah, unless you're super big, I don't know how sustainable it is. Unless you're able to find other pathways through making music. Like for example, I think teaching music is one of the best things you can do. Teaching, whether that's instruments or productions. Like I'm at university studying to become a teacher. I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to be like, here's what I can do with music, and here's how I can, I don't know, make a difference with my artistic integrity or ability.
So you can relate to the industry, but with many different ways.
Yeah, or I mean, I think if it's just about wanting to get your music heard, like, is that really the dream that you want to stand on a big stage and like sing in front of a bunch of people? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
So you encourage people to start maybe their own thing?
Or start a crew, meet other people, try and meet other people.
Collectively.
Do your, do that. I mean, thank God for Bandcamp, because it's kind of the Wild West right now, you know.
I've found lots of music
oh my God,
on Bandcamp. It's crazy.
I stopped going on SoundCloud maybe 2 years ago. I couldn't fucking get anything to play. I was going nuts.
I think Justin needs to update his JavaScript.
Me too.
No,
Me too. I had this.
No, I would watch like bootleg movies like on freely, and then I go to SoundCloud to check out a beat, and it's like you don't have an internet connection. I'm like, I do have a fucking internet connection. I just watched the bootleg movie for and then a commercial would come on, and I think the second that sort of stuff happens. Like I don't need.
Are there commercials on SoundCloud?
I don't need car insurance in Germany. There is. Like I don't need the car insurance now. I'm looking at music. Like why? You know what I mean? So I get really frustrated by how the commercials come in. So I just go on Bandcamp and just kind of. I used to spend 6 or 7 hours on SoundCloud. Like it was. I would go fucking crazy. Like you know what I mean? Because you're listening to so much bad music with titles. Or like because I would look up tags. You just type in.
Yeah, and you get lost in.
I would just go in the but then after 3 hours I would find a beat that none of my friends had, and then so you know what I mean. So I would be like, cool. That's I got this beat for the next 5-6 months or whatever.
Okay. Nice. I wanted to ask you something because you said about the SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Yeah, you can, and it's really nice because. Sometimes we have put some mixes, and because I search in Bandcamp, I find artists, and I put them in the mix, but I don't even know what they are doing in their town or in the rest of the world. Like maybe I don't know them, but sometimes it happened that the guys mailed me and said, "Oh, nice, you put my song on a mix," and then you see them becoming famous or something, and it's a very big community. Bandcamp, I really like.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask you some questions about Boiler Room, Sofie?
I mean, not really, but like we can do it. We can do it. I mean, if anybody's interested, it would make sense. But if
we have
not,
DJ heads here, techno heads.
Okay, I'll do it.
You want me to ask? You don't have any question? Okay. What about Boiler Room, and how did you get involved there?
I got involved maybe the same month I was hired at Stonesthrow. Stonesthrow was set to do a takeover on Boiler Room. It was the first show in Los Angeles. And my boss, Peanut Butter Wolf, asked me to open up for him, Dame Funk, and J-Rock. So I played the first set. And I guess my selections went down well. And Blaze, the founder of the company, and Tristan, the original host, they realized that I was friends with a lot of producers in Los Angeles. And they were like, do you want to run an outpost for us in LA and curate it? And I think they kind of saw the opportunity that I was super young and I was like down to do it for free. And we were maybe 5 people in 2012.
They always like.
So yeah, that's when I started, and then it really, I don't think any of us expected it to develop as fast as it did and to grow into what it is today. But yeah, from LA, we ended up moving to New York, opened offices there, then started an outpost in Japan, then moved to London, and then the company just went from maybe 5 people to, I don't know, there's like 60 people working there now. So,
what was the concept behind Boiler Room in the beginning? Do you know? Because it's changing the media landscape right now, and how you promote music, DJs, and the whole thing with the cameras.
I mean, at the beginning, the very, very, very initial ultimate idea is that Blaze had a magazine. It was called Platform, and instead of a traditional music section where music would be reviewed, this was right at the time where like live streaming became a thing. This was in 2010 with like video. So he was like, why don't we do like a live stream for our music section of our magazine? That was the idea behind it. And it happened in a very small room, the boiler room of a warehouse that this magazine was in. Okay. And then because the artists playing were people like Hudson Mohawk and I think Jamie XX was also one of the first artists to play. I think because people were very curious to have this small keyhole into a music scene, into a city of the world where maybe they weren't able to physically access, that kind of led to the success, and that was also what made Boiler Room a scalable model transferable to other cities, because if you're sitting at home in, I don't know, whether it's like the Ukraine or Austria or, I don't know, Brazil, you're always going to have a certain interest. If you're into music, what is the underground niche scene like in this city or in this city or in this city? And I think delivering that unique keyhole of like scenes in different cities, and especially underground scenes, you know, I mean, the artists that we had on in LA, like Shlomo or K Tornado, that was before they were big artists, and I think that's what also made it exciting, the fact that you could check it out and discover musicians before they
leave
were
a really mean comment underneath.
Yeah, and like have him say really mean stuff about everybody in the chat.
Έχουμε κάποια ερώτηση σχέση με το Boiler Room, άμα θέλετε. Αλλιώς να το ξεπεράσω. Πείτε μου. Πες μου.
Like a party in your city?
Party, live, I've got a band, I want to do my thing.
How would I do it?
Independent, I want to make it as big as possible without no help, let's say.
Make a shitload of flyers and put them around town. Like, I don't know.
Talk to your friends.
Graffiti.
You know, yeah.
Graffiti.
A lot of the times a label doesn't help you out. Like a lot of the, you know, all of my DJs, I just did a tour in Asia and I asked my label, I was like, the promoters were like, hey, do you think you can get your label to like tweet about this? And I emailed and they were like, you know what? Like, no. So it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if you're with the label or not. Like you don't automatically have support. Like Jeff Jank hit me. He was like, I asked Coda to do it, but he like didn't want to for some reason. So I think just like talking to your friends and
no love.
You know, no love at all. So mean. Yeah, talking to your friends, getting your friends' friends, your uncles, your aunts, grandmas. Yeah.
No.
Next one.
I don't know if a boiler room made
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Me too. Yeah.
What can we do to make this happen?
You should have the money first.
Yeah. I'm not even kidding. The way it is now, and I'm probably going to get into so much trouble for this. And I also have to, full disclaimer, like 5 years later, I'm only freelance at Boiler Room. 2 years ago, I kind of fell back. I don't know. It wasn't, I think for me, the company really changed into something that I personally, had it been my company, it's not the direction I would have taken it in. And I think there's a lot of stuff that's very problematic with it. And I understand, people are trying to run a business and trying to make as much money as possible. So yeah, I would actually say if you want to be underground and you want to do your own thing, do your own thing. And in terms of getting Boiler Room to come here, find a big brand sponsor, or have a brand that really wants to do something in Greece.
Someone must pay the Boiler Room to come. Okay, but it's not about the music or the money.
But it's how the industry works.
That's I think part of the appeal why I enjoyed being at Boiler Room for the first 3 years of its inception was the fact that it felt like I could do something that I wanted to do without there being rules. Like, you can't have this artist because he doesn't have enough SoundCloud plays. That did not exist when I was at Boiler Room. And I think the fact when that started changing, that's when I began to lose interest, because for me, it should be about how, and a lot of the original people that say, I'm going to get into so much trouble for spilling all the beans.
Don't let Sophie get in trouble.
But a lot of the original people that were at Boiler Room at the very beginning, Tristan, Bradley, Nick, I don't know if you guys know them, but for example, Bradley runs his own label, Rhythm Section. He left to do his own thing. Nick left to do his own thing. He runs Whitey's Records, which is a subdivision of Young Turks, which has like Jamie XX and everybody on it. Tristan does Global Roots, and he does a lot with like Worldwide, with Giles Peterson. So a lot of the original people that I think made Boiler Room into what it is today just aren't with it anymore for that reason. Sorry to talk shit, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll tell you what, though, those really, I travel a lot, and there's so many times I'll just be in a promoter's car, and they're like, oh, we've checked out, because I've done maybe 5 of them, and they're like, I like the second, or like this one, like people, like, I'm like, oh, fuck, people like listen to this shit? Like, I don't know. Like,
they listen.
That's, and I think that's what makes it appealing for artists to still do it today, because it's still huge, like, it's
it really does help.
It does, yeah.
It changed the way, like, if you're in a house and you're chilling with somebody and you want to put some music, let's say, oh, let's put the Boiler Room from him. Let's listen to the other guy. So
I have PTSD. I made my Boiler Room sets private. All of them, except for ours.
That's why.
I just want to disable the comments, man. Some people want to bash my head in just for playing.
That's the thing.
Thank you. A question for Sophie, and then it's for both, if you want. Like, you recently curated a compilation in Stonesthrow. I would like to ask you, what is the process behind selecting the music, and a general approach at the DJ set, and the different perspectives you see while choosing the music?
Well, a lot of the music was artists that I really want to promote and support, and that maybe they aren't very big, like Stimulator Jones, for example, or an artist I really like that's on there, Il Camille. It was basically artists that I think more people should hear. And when a record comes out on Stonesthrow, people are like, oh, this is a Stonesthrow record. I'm going to check it out. So I really wanted to give those people a voice. And then some music is also stuff I played myself. Like I play a viola on a lot of the tracks. And the last track I also produced. And for me, it was mainly a process of what do I want people to hear and what do I want to support. And in terms of how I found the music, it really varied. Some artists I had met before, and I knew them, and so I knew their music. And then other artists like Stimulator Jones, I just found him on the internet on Bandcamp, I think. And I emailed him, and I was like, I'm a really big fan of your music. Can I release some of it on this compilation that I'm doing? And he was like, okay, sure, like, let me send you some stuff that I've been working on. And then he sends me like 20 songs. And he plays everything on there. He plays all the instruments. He sings. Yeah. And it sounds, he has like this really amazing 80s feel. And then I showed all of this to Wolf, too, and he was like, we have to put out a full-length record by this guy. So that's what I'm really excited about. That was the ultimate goal, really, to get these artists, to support these artists, really, and to get them.
I think that's the interesting thing about you, and that's why at first got in touch with you, because I think the main thing is to say that you should put, like by making a mix or a DJ set, you should put out the music you want to hear, not the music you should give people to hear, because this is the music that is now or something. It's like from you to them, so thank you for this. How could you cover up a mistake during DJing? And if you want to answer... No. I think that's tricky.
Like, you mean like a train wreck? I don't... I mean, I don't train wreck.
I don't train wreck.
I haven't.
Yeah, not you.
In a lot, but if I fuck up, I just hit my head. So
what you should say to someone to do.
If
you do that.
Just dance.
You don't train wreck.
Just pretend it didn't happen.
No, don't pretend it didn't happen. No. That's not cool.
I always... Yeah, because, sometimes people are like, was that on purpose?
There needs to be some sort of...
No, you just like...
So.
I feel like whenever something bad has happened, I just kind of like turn the EQ filter on and on. And people are like... They're like, oh yeah, that was like meant to
That was fly, yeah.
No, but you know what? I think I'm one of those people that also doesn't mix obsessively, so it really doesn't happen to me. If I can't like make it fit, I just let the song run out. Like that's totally fine. I think there's this hyper
depending on the genre of music you're playing.
Yeah, I think I really don't stick to 1 BPM when I'm DJing, so for me it's sometimes impossible to make 2 tracks like beat match. I think it's silly if you want to make all your tracks beat match. It's really boring. Yeah. Super boring.
It kind of is.
It's so boring. I'm
super
sorry,
over mixing.
So over it.
I just want to hear really
good music.
Really good selections. Yeah. Instead of, because now with controllers and shit, it's like, okay, so you just mix for 5 minutes. Like I don't give a fuck. Like you just become immune to this, especially if it's like if someone's at home, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then you get there, and you do that, and you do this, and it's like, that's so boring. Like, I don't plan sets. I just have a shitload of tunes. Yeah. And I just, depending on the way the room feels and the room sounds, so some beats you can't play on certain sound systems because it's not going to sound good. Yeah. So,
You have to arrange this depending the time. Mm-hmm. Like Zappa had said, like, for the solos. I don't know if you have seen this. He said, like, I never play a solo 2 times. I just find out what I'm going to play at that time I'm there. And that's the purpose of a solo on guitar.
It makes so much sense, though, because I think you, as an artist yourself, you get so bored if you just play something that you've been practicing.
I don't know how people do that.
I also don't.
Because if you see someone on tour and you see him twice, you're like,
I know, I don't get that. I'm like...
That's so fucking boring,
Yeah, they play like 6 shows, and oh God, we're totally calling out artists here, but people play like 6 shows, and they play the same songs in the same... like I'll have songs that I like, and maybe I'll play them 5 nights in a row, for sure, I'm not saying that, but like the same track list, and you're just like, how do you yourself not just get so bored playing?
But plus, I think some people get used to playing for shitloads of people, so they're like, oh, it's just going to be packed. Yeah. People are going to be blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you show up and there's like 3 people and you look really stupid trying to play this crazy hype festival set for 3 people, and it happens. Like, it's not all, not every party is going to be cracking, And so I think there's a skill in knowing. I used to open for this hip hop club in Chinatown in LA. Okay. And so, like, one person would walk in and you're like, okay, I'm going to play for that person. And then 2 people would come in and you're like, all right, I got 2 people. And then so you just see this room build. And some people, I think they get like too much hype too soon and they don't know what it's like to play for just 2 people and like have that sort of knowing how to build a room or whatever. They're just like, I'm just going to bang it out.
And I think there's so much more appeal to like having to really win people over. Like if you've Like, I think both of us have really paid our dues opening for bigger artists. Like, you know, like, 'cause you're opening for, like, I don't know, like Wolf or J-Rock, both are amazing DJs. No one's going to be, like, stoked to see you. Like, no one's like, yes.
I don't know if J-Rock's on the bill. No.
You know, like, you're not, you know, you're just like, oh, you're here to see J-Rock. But I think to really have to try to both fit what you like playing and then also try to go off, you know, when you see, like, a person nodding your head, you're just like, yes. Mm-hmm. You know,
and I guess one thing I would give it, because this has happened to me before, like early on. You're like, oh my god, I'm playing with fucking MF Doom. Oh, he's gonna love my set, and it's like that fool is not in the fucking building. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he's
don't.
Not there,
he's not gonna be there when you play.
If you do get to open for someone, don't think about them at all, because they're probably not in the building, and you're just gonna have this false sense of, I don't know, just let it, just play for yourself, and like just, you know, because I felt victim to that many a time, and you just like. And you finish and you're sweating and you see them walk in, like, don't give a fuck about you. And you're like, oh, man.
It's like, who's the sweaty guy? Ew.
Can I ask you about your last album? I found it
it's
very...
actually my only album. It's my debut album.
Okay.
No, I know. I just have to clarify.
Because of the beat tapes, I'm just saying albums.
I think it is, yeah.
No. You had many collabs. Mm-hmm. And what was the process and the experience behind that, behind collaborating with all these people, which I think are mostly friends of yours? Mm-hmm. And tell us about this.
Well, I was living in London, and I was freaking out on the streets, yelling at people, and kind of having spaz attacks on the street because the city was kind of fucking with me. And so I decided a friend of mine was moving to Berlin, Flacco. He moved to Berlin, and he's like, I was like, show me online what you can get. Like, just show me a price point. You know what I mean? What you can get for your money. I was like, okay, fuck it. And there's graffiti everywhere. Cool, let's go. Like, you know, so we just went to Berlin, and I spent maybe a year and a half recording. I was just in a room with a window like that, and I just kind of played off the weather, like whatever the weather was, and my mood, and I was kind of alone a lot. So I just made about 20 beats a day, you know, sometimes 8, nice. Sometimes 20. Yeah. Just 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and then whoever I would think, like, oh, I could hear Zero on this, or Ganja Sufi on this, or blah, blah, blah. So I would just send them shit, and then 4 months later, you might get an email back. It's really hard. Oh, God. I don't recommend trying to work with rappers, or it's unless you have shitloads of money, and you can be like, yo, I need this in 2 weeks, you know, which I can't do. So it was kind of a long process, so I didn't know, no one's hitting me back that day like, oh, this beat, I'm going to use this and blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of just random and just kind of don't really know.
What is going
I just try to make as much music as I could and then sequence accordingly, you know.
To who you spread the music so he can bring you back different... I mean, like, you started sending the music to which one you would like to... Like
if I could hear Zero on a tune, I'm like, oh, I could hear him on this, so I just send it to him, and hopefully, and don't send too many. Like, no one wants to listen to 30 beats.
Okay. You must be selective.
If this is what you do, if this is what they do for, like, it's really frustrating. It's like, you know, 6 beats maximum, you know, and then, I mean, I would do that weekly, so maybe, you know, it's being quite annoying, but it worked out, you know, because they're all kind of friends, so I didn't have to. You know what I mean? Like I have a good reputation, I guess, with my friends. So it was really quite easy, you know. And so, you know, I mean, the Ganja Sufi track, he ended up hearing. It was started from Vine. I did a loop of one of the edits, and then he's like, "What's this?" And so I sent it to him, and then 4 months later, he sent me a cappella, and I was like, "Holy shit!" But the sample, it was based off a Beatles sample, whatever. And then my friend, who's a huge Beatles fan, was like, you can't sample the Beatles. I was like, that's the fucking Beatles? I had no idea what I did. And then so Flacco replayed the whole tune and added an original bass line and guitar. Okay. So now it's our tune. So, you know, it's sometimes starting something illegally ends up, you can, you know, if you know how to manipulate around.
In the process, you can change.
Yeah. We had like a sampling guy at the label just like, no. Like he would, so we're like, you know, so it's quite interesting. I've never really dealt with that before. It's quite official. But yeah, it was quite easy to work with friends and stuff like that, you know.
That's really nice. Is there, I don't know, I don't have many other questions. If you have any question, guys. Yeah.
I want to ask Justin, since you are born in
I was born in England, but that's okay. Slick Rick and MF Doom were born in England, and they're two of the best MCs ever. So.
Okay, I want to ask you what's your opinion about the new wave of trap, which is currently just hip hop right now in America?
I mean, yeah, it's hip hop. I don't know, man. Production-wise, I'm really interested in a lot of it. Subject matter, I'm quite picky, and I'm not 17 anymore, so I don't have this really, you know, I mean, you know, I used to listen to Two Live Crew and shit, and that's like the dumbest, most ignorant lyrics, but I don't really have the patience really anymore, you know? The word bitch, I'm kind of sick of hearing the word bitch. I'm just sick of kind of street culture bullshit. You know, a lot of it I don't relate to at all. Like, I don't, you know, I'm looking for like, you know, someone like Outkast who still do that, you know, the sort of music that everyone's doing around them, but just the subject matter is just amazing and makes you feel something. And, you know, I'm not a cool person, so all this cool guy bullshit, like, I don't give a fuck about, you know what I mean? So I don't relate to a lot of it. But the production is insane. Like, some of the bass, it just, like, blows my mind how these kids are just at home just with a fucking computer, and it sounds amazing, you know? So some of it I really like. I need to pay more attention when things come out. I kind of do this thing of ignoring anything popular for a while, and then sometimes I'll just go and, like, listen. I'm like, oh, that I like this one track or whatever, you know, out of whatever album. But yeah, I like some of it. I mean, and it's nice to see music because I travel a lot, so I get to go. I was just in Ramallah, and I'm hearing these guys, hearing their life story, you know, because the beat, I'm just like, oh, it's like that beat that I hear everywhere, and the hi-hats, like, I kind of become immune to it, you know. But then the subject matter, these guys are talking about real life shit, you know, and it just made me just think differently about, you know, it's so nice to see, like, around the world, like, this music. I mean, I feel like it's just like the beginning stages of something, because, like, a lot of places, like, they're the first crew of dudes making this music in their hood or whatever. So that's really important. They're gonna influence other people. And so what's gonna happen in 3 years, 5 years, you know? But yeah, the hi-hats is, you know, I won't be, you know, just something interesting, like, use stick sounds, like the 808 sound, and this has been probably since, like, Little John, who brought 808s back, like, heavy, you know.
Now it's overused.
I'm just immune to, I just become like, all right, like, what's up? What's next? Yeah. Like, okay, we're here. We've done this.
We
like,
know
I'm
this.
Let's
see what's up.
But yeah, I do like some. I mean, if you know any shit that you recommend, I like to. I'm always like curious to know what people.
Is there anything you would like to recommend? Any new music you found out or something interesting?
Oh, new music. Yeah, I would definitely. There's so much good hip hop that's coming out, like the Grand Millie record on Stonesthrow. And then there's a few crews in Palo Alto, California, where I'm from, that are making good music. The Knockdowns, they're really good, and that's similar. That I would actually say is probably like super trap-ish sounding production. But there's like a lot of great trap producers that I think are great, like Zaythoven or like Young Chop. There's, you know, they know how to produce, I guess. Doesn't mean I'm listening to it at home though.
Okay. Is there any advice you would like to give to people who are producing, all our friends here, about what to do with their music, how to approach the whole thing? Upcoming producers?
That's a really loaded question.
Yeah, very loaded. Yeah, it's a big question.
I think just stick to what you enjoy doing. That sounds super basic, but, you know, do what makes you happy. Was there another question in the crowd?
Yeah,
there was, yeah, okay. Sorry.
I've actually never used Tractor.
Same.
My house burned down in LA, so I've been using Serato since 2007. But recently I've been having a lot of problems with Serato, so I just have been using USBs on CDJs, which I feel fucking so bizarre doing it, but it works. I just plug this fucking thing in and it just works. Like I just, you know, so I don't know, but I heard Tractor, the effects are really cool. But I do miss Serato because it's nice.
Serato used to be cool, but I think I just had so many problems DJing with it. It depends where you're going, and then, you know, every promoter kind of has a different box, and I would never bring my own. And then there were just too many problems, and then I actually started just playing just vinyl for like a good, I think, 2 years now. But then in the summer, I actually played in Greece in the summer, and one of my most favorite records just like warped in the sun, like it was just over. Oh. And then also your back hurts all the time because you're carrying around records. So.
No bueno.
And I think the last like all vinyl tour I did was like Asia, and after that I was like, I'm so done. And this was like 2 weeks ago. So I also only have my USB with me, so we're gonna have a
USB showdown.
USB showdown on tomorrow. Yes, I listen to. I speak German, so I listen to a lot of German hip hop.
But still, some language maybe that you weren't familiar with.
Yeah, I have French. I don't really speak French too well, and there's like 2 French artists that I like. And then there's Cohen, Israeli rapper. I don't, you know.
I actually don't. No, I just you would try and find the beat. It depends. A lot of times, if they just sound angry, I'm just like, I don't know what
angry,
the fuck,
yeah.
you know.
No angry stuff.
But if they sound smooth as fuck, yeah, I'll listen. I'll definitely listen to it. I really like conversational MCs. I don't like yelling.
Even if you don't understand what they're saying.
No, I don't mind. I mean, I listen to so much Brazilian music, and it just,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're saying. It just sounds beautiful, yeah.
But I mean, like that isn't as much song, let's say. It's more about what's being said.
Of course, but you know, if somebody sounds really strained and angry, I don't think it matters what language is in. You're just gonna, you know, not want to listen to it. I don't know. And also, if the beat is terrible, there's no.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my god, if the beat is fire and they're just talking about their dick the whole time, I'll still play it.
Yeah,
It's like, that's all I got. I gotta play it, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel stupid sometimes.
Totally.
I feel like if I'm playing records, I have to. It has to be a part of me in a weird way. I would feel stupid just playing this,
something that you don't represent or stand for.
If I played strip club music, I would feel really stupid. You know? Like I mean, maybe the party would be maybe more fun than what I usually do, but I don't relate to that music, so I just would feel stupid. So the music has to be sort of a part of my life or a part of my everyday sort of, you know what I mean, like daily life. I can't do this fantasy. I mean, a lot of people do it. They just every couple of months they just kind of switch genres, or every couple of years, I would say, you know. And I find like when you hear their old mixes, you're just like, oh, that's what you were in. Like it just becomes, you immediately date yourself by doing this super trendy thing. I'm not answering actually the question that you asked, but
okay.
I drank some coffee, so I'm just gonna.
Thank you. Okay, one last because we don't have too much time. Και μία από τη Μαργαρίτα.
Yes, they do. Yeah, sometimes. No, I wish there was New Step Kids.
That was on Stonesthrow?
Margarita?
Do you think it's important for an artist to be defined as a specific genre artist? Or
No.
I mean, if you only make one genre of music,
Then yes.
maybe, yeah. But if you just kind of, I don't know. If you just make hip hop, then I guess you're a hip hop artist, or.
I mean, you pick a specific genre in each album you make or collection?
I mean,
I don't think either of the releases that we've done have been one genre. Like, nor mine, not his.
no, I actually made a point for my album.
Yeah.
To be, like there's an electronic punk song about. Well, I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but there's a punk song, there's a country, like a blues song, and there's some sort of stony hip hop shit. It's like I wanted the album to sound like a compilation in a way, so it just didn't seem like.
And mine actually is a compilation, so.
Yeah.
No way.
Do you think like an artist can do everything by himself? Because you know we listen about all these producers, they do the writing, the lyrics, the music, mixing, mastering, and everything. Do you think an artist has actually the time to do everything by himself?
I mean, Yeah, I see people do it all the time.
People have the time.
That's unbelievable if you can do all that shit on
but,
your own.
But, you know, like there's some, get help where you can, or collaborate with people, and, You don't have to be able to do every aspect. I think especially with, like, mixing and mastering, it's always nice to have, like, a fresh set or different ears. Go over your stuff again, because sometimes you've listened to something so many times that you're not...
Oh, you become immune to your own stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have different sets of ears listening to what you do, so you get different opinions, and then it starts to shape whatever you want to do.
I don't know. But I hate. I personally, I can't. I don't. Not that I don't believe my friends, but I don't believe my friends. Like I just kind of because I feel like they're not that you're supposed to like my shit, but because you're my friend. But I mean, but if everyone's patting you on the back, you're like, this is bullshit. Like I don't believe any of this. But if you actually get an honest opinion, it like feels really, really good. You know, whether it hurts or not.
This honest opinion is like the guy who always says bad things about the music. One day he says good things. It's like I think this opinion matters. Like maybe not if he does it.
But I wouldn't rely on
provocative way.
I wouldn't rely on. You know, I would just go to, like like a Twilight Zone thing. Like everyone in the world is dead, and I'm the only person alive. What kind of music would you do? You know what I mean? Like there's no scene. Everyone's fucking dead. You know what I mean? It's like what would you? I don't know. What would you make? You know. It's kind of grim, I guess, but it just helps to just kind of be free. Like you don't have to think like, oh, my friend blah 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 is not gonna like this because this kick is like, well, fuck that dude, he's dead now. So I'm just gonna make whatever I want to make, you know.
Can I go to more?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how you can organize like all these ideas, all the inspiration flows and everything, and be able to spend all this time to do the whole thing by yourself.
But for an album or just to make.
Even for a single or like a collection, when you got all these ideas flowing, and then you need to actually like work fast.
But I think the way they approach producing and
collaborate with people and, for example, choose someone else to do your mixing and your mastering and everything, so that you can be able to work more on, the artistic part, the idea.
Well, like with mixing and mastering, that usually happens after your record or your music is done.
Yeah. Once you have a complete.
Once you're done with the song, like say you have a single.
To do it all yourself? Oh.
Yeah.
What?
I think that you shouldn't thinking about the end product when you're dealing with the artistic view of what you're doing, because otherwise then you are thinking about time, you're thinking about the product that you're going to sell or something, but at the time...
that hinders creativity also.
Yeah, that kills your creativity.
I would just, I mean, I don't know. I have a thing like if I don't draw or make a beat, I start snapping at people. Like and then I'll be like, what the fuck's going on with me? And I'm like, oh, I haven't made a beat in like 3 days, and I haven't drawn in 2 days. And I realize like I have to do this. Like it's like kind of like therapeutic, you know.
It's a physical response to what you have to do to be good. I think.
And plus, because I don't feel like I've mastered anything, so I'm like, oh, I'm still learning. Fuck, like I can't be comfortable because there's things that I'm learning every day. Every time I make a beat, I'll just after the session or whatever, I'll just be like, oh yeah, cool. I learn whatever the fuck that day, and it feels really good. Especially when you're on your own, it's like
it's an experience. You should not ruin the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and. Then maybe we stop. I don't know if there are any questions.
It matters. I don't know. Or maybe if it's better to publish more things that are quality average, or just take more time to publish new things and like give the people something in the perfect quality.
But like matters for what? Like what are you trying to achieve? That's the question.
I don't know, like the listener maybe, or...
Are you trying to get more listeners? Like, what's your goal? I think you always have to look at like, what's your goal? Do you just want?
Because I have all these ideas and all these projects just standing there in my computer. And I want to let the people listen to them, but then when I go to the studio, everyone tells me that the mastering is not perfect,
Oh, no, I don't think it matters. No, I mean, like, look, if you want to put something
publish,
out
you mean
there, like put it on the
Bandcamp
internet?
or on vinyl? Like on Bandcamp or like on the
Like publish it in YouTube or.
Oh, yeah, you don't need to, I don't think you need to master
No,
something.
there's a really
You
nice.
know,
I mean, there's something about demos that I like way more than.
If something sounds really raw and not super clean, sometimes that's a good thing.
But do you think like people would approach you if the outcome's not like perfect sound?
I mean, that's what a demo is.
Yeah.
Totally. That's how I got my album came out with this label because a friend of mine, he had like 30 demo beats of mine, and an A&R Ninja heard it, and he just hit me up like, you want to do an album with Ninja? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I thought it was a joke. And that was all demos, and some of those demos made it to the album, but you know, once you realize you have you have to have a package together, then you start thinking about things. I never have thought about putting something together like this. I was always just kind of free, smoking weed, making beats. Like, I like doing that, you know. And then it became, oh shit, I got a thing that has to be cohesive, and it has my name on it till after I die or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? I started freaking out over that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't worry. I mean, it depends what you want. If you want to sound like a movie, like, you know what I mean? Like the cleanest shit ever, like, then yeah, I guess the mastering and everything does, because you gain so much with mastering that I just learned recently, you know, because everything I've done before has just been Bandcamp beats off of my sampler, so you know it's not going to sound amazing, you know. It's just, at least it sounds honest though. I think that's the key.
Thank you very much.
I'm starting to sweat.
It's so hot in here, I need
Right.
like fresh air.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Costis, one last question.
Let's go smoke some weed.
What's the best approach to make an A&R listen to your tracks?
Duct tape, chlorophyll. Good question. I mean, God,
I don't know,
fuck.
I feel like that's the
that's one of the
wrong-
hardest
yeah.
like gates to get in. Really,
Yeah.
like.
It's sad, but like there's nothing that you can really. I think maybe if you, it's like it's such a case of like being in the right place at the right time. There's not like,
Totally.
or sending your music to a label, you know, sending your music. But you know what, Stonesthrow, for example, there's an address on the Stonesthrow website, and me and John Wayne used to actually listen to every single demo that was ever sent to Stonesthrow. You know, people do that. I don't know if you can.
Because a lot of A&Rs, they get a lot of emails and probably they.
Yeah, don't send a link with an email. This, for example, the Stonesthrow was actually a physical address. Like if you look on the website, it's an actual address, and you have to mail a physical copy, right? So by the time that people got very creative with it, people would send, once they sent like a stuffed animal, like a taxidermied animal with a CD in its mouth. Like people get very creative when you make it a physical product.
What kind of animal? What was it?
It was like a possum or something. Yeah, but I think emails is just redundant, sadly. I don't think anybody really...
Or go to, I mean...
Unless people ask for it.
Put your music
know.
on a USB, and if you go to a show, give it to the artist or that's on the label. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, depends where you want to be, really, you know? But I feel like if you go to a show and whoever the fuck you want to, you know, you like, or just give it to them. Half my compilations were met just through that way. It's really nice. It's like you get to meet someone, and it's like, you know, because I've been that person. I still am that person in a way. So it's, you know, but it's, if you're far away from that sort of stuff, I really don't know, because it sucks that it's like a popularity contest now, and you know, it just feels like high school or something, you know, and it's, I don't know. It seems, I don't know. It seems, I don't know. I'm still learning myself, you know. So I don't know. But if I know some people, if you want to give me music, yeah.
Guys, thank you very, very much. I think I should
Thank you.
let you go because you are tired. I know when we have the event tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we're DJing tomorrow. It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
It's going to be... Κωνσταντινούπολης 82 θα παίξουν τα παιδιά. Σε ένα χώρο εκεί πέρα. Δεν είναι μαγαζί. Μπορείτε να έρθετε όπως θέλει. Δεν θέλω να κάνω διαφήμιση, να εκμεταλλευτώ ότι δεν είναι αυτός. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, παιδιά. Δεν ξέρω.